Hello and welcome back to this new edition of News Today. Without delay, let's dive straight into today's headlines. IIT Madras-based startup Agnikul Cosmos launched world's first rocket with single-piece 3D printed engine. RBI released framework for recognizing self-regulatory organizations for fintech sector. A novel method for mass production of recombinant proteins has been developed. Standard & Poor's or S&P Global has upgraded India's sovereign rating outlook from stable to positive. WHO released Hooking the Next Generation, How the Tobacco Industry Captures Young Customers report. The UN Global Supply Chain Forum has called for resilience amid the recent world trade disruptions. Starting with the first news. In exciting news from the world of space technology, IIT Madras-based startup Agnikul Cosmos has just launched the world's first rocket with a single-piece 3D printed engine. The rocket, named Agniban Suborbital Technological Demonstrator, is India's first semi-cryogenic engine-powered rocket designed and manufactured indigenously through 3D printing or additive manufacturing. This test flight aims to showcase in-house and homegrown technologies, gather crucial flight data, and ensure the optimal functioning of systems for Agnikul's orbital launch vehicle, the Agniban. Speaking of the Agniban rocket, it is a two-stage marvel with a capacity to carry payloads ranging from 30 kg to 300 kg to a height of 700 km. It is designed to access both low and high inclination orbits and is completely mobile, designed for accessing more than 10 launch ports. The launch took place from India's first privately developed launch pad, Dhanush, established by Agnikul at Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. The semi-cryogenic engine of the Agniban, known as Agnilet, uses propellant combination of liquid oxygen and kerosene. This type of engine uses fuel that can be stored at higher temperatures compared to cryogenic engines, simplifying handling and storage while offering high performance. In contrast, cryogenic engines use liquid hydrogen as fuel and liquid oxygen as an oxidizer at extremely low temperatures. ISRO is also developing semi-cryogenic propulsion systems to enhance the payload capability of Launch Vehicle Mark III and future launch vehicles. Moving on to the broader picture of space sector privatization, several initiatives have been taken to boost private sector involvement. For instance, 100% FDI is now allowed in components and systems, subsystems for satellites, ground segments, and user segments. The Indian Space Policy 2023 highlights the private sector as a critical stakeholder in the entire value chain of the space economy. Furthermore, the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center facilitates private sector engagement in space activities. This launch marks a significant milestone in India's space endeavors and highlights the potential of homegrown technology in advancing our capabilities. Ahead in the news, RBI released framework for recognizing self-regulatory organizations for fintech sector. In a significant news from the Reserve Bank of India regarding the fintech sector, the RBI has recently unveiled its framework for recognizing self-regulatory organizations for fintech sector, abbreviated as SROFT framework. But before we dive into the specifics of the SROFT framework, let's understand the role of fintech in the financial sector. Fintech, short for financial technology, are entities that provide technological solutions for the delivery of financial products to consumers or offer regulatory compliance services in partnership with traditional financial institutions. While fintech has undeniably revolutionized financial services, offering convenience, accessibility, and cost reduction, it hasn't been without its challenges. Concerns such as customer protection and data privacy have come to the forefront, necessitating regulatory frameworks to ensure responsible conduct within the industry. And this is where the RBI's SROFT framework comes into play, aiming to address these concerns while fostering innovation and growth within the fintech ecosystem. Now let's take a closer look at the SROFT framework outlined by the RBI. An SRO is an industry-led entity responsible for establishing and enforcing regulatory standards, promoting ethical conduct, and ensuring market integrity among its members. The key highlights of SROFT framework are: first, it will be built on representative structure, leveraging the collective expertise of its members. Secondly, SROFT ensures independence from undue influence. Thirdly, SROFT is prohibited from setting up entities or offices overseas without prior approval from the RBI, though SROFT could have fintechs domiciled outside India as members. Another significant aspect is that the SROFT must establish systems for managing instances of user harm that come into its notice or are referred to it by RBI or any other stakeholder. User harm includes addressing fraud, unfair practices, unauthorized transactions, etc. Now you might be wondering what drives the necessity for such a framework in the fintech sector. Firstly, the framework facilitates adherence to industry standards and best practices. Secondly, it empowers fintechs to operate responsibly even in the absence of formal regulation. Thirdly, it encourages collaboration among industry players to identify and address challenges, fostering an environment where innovation can thrive. Fourthly, to adapt to rapid technological advancements and evolving market dynamics. And lastly, it aims to instill self-discipline and imbibe high levels of internal governance among fintech entities. So as we can see, the RBI's SROFT framework marks a significant step towards ensuring the sustainable growth and responsible conduct of fintech entities in India.
Moving on to the next news, a novel method for mass production of recombinant proteins has been developed. Researchers at Indian Institute of Science have developed a new process for production of the recombinant proteins. But what exactly are recombinant proteins? These are modified or manipulated proteins encoded by recombinant DNA to increase protein production, modify gene sequences, and manufacture useful commercial products. rDNA is an artificially made DNA strand formed by combining two or more DNA molecules. This technology can be used to splice or transfer DNA from different species or to create genes with new functions. Currently, recombinant proteins such as vaccine antigens, insulin, and monoclonal antibodies are mass-produced by growing modified bacterial, viral, or mammalian cells in large bioreactors. The most widely used organism for this purpose is the yeast Pichia pastoris, now called Comagatella paphae, which utilizes methanol for production of recombinant proteins. However, methanol is highly flammable and hazardous, requiring stringent safety precautions. The researchers at IISc have developed an alternative, safer process that relies on a common food additive called monosodium glutamate. Another organism of choice for recombinant proteins production is Escherichia coli. Due to its well-categorized genetics, rapid growth, and high yield production, the applications of recombinant proteins are vast and diverse. In the medical field, recombinant proteins are used in the production of biotherapeutics such as insulin, growth hormones, and monoclonal antibodies. They also play a crucial role in the development of vector vaccines, which are considered safer than traditional vaccines as they do not contain live pathogens. In agriculture, recombinant proteins are used in the development of genetically modified crops and to increase the nutritional value of animal feed. Moreover, recombinant proteins have environmental applications, particularly in bioremediation, which is the process of using microorganisms to break down pollutants in the environment. By providing a safer and more sustainable alternative to existing methods, this innovation has the potential to accelerate the development of life-saving medicines, improve agricultural practices, and contribute to environmental conservation efforts. In our next news, Standard & Poor's or S&P Global has upgraded India's sovereign rating outlook from stable to positive. Credit rating firm Standard & Poor's Global has revised credit outlook to positive while retaining India's sovereign credit rating at BBB for long-term and A3 for short-term unsolicited foreign and local currency. The revised credit outlook can be attributed to several factors, including India's robust economic expansion, broad continuity in economic reforms and fiscal policies, prioritization of fiscal consolidation efforts, and improved quality of government expenditure. To better understand the implications of this development, let's delve into the concept of sovereign credit ratings or SCRs. SCRs represent an assessment of a country's or sovereign entity's ability to meet debt obligations, encompassing both the capability and willingness to repay debt. The global SCR landscape is dominated by three US-based rating agencies, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch. The significance of SCRs cannot be overstated. Higher credit ratings indicate lower risk, allowing countries to borrow at lower interest rates. Moreover, higher credit ratings can result in easier access to international capital markets as investors perceive these countries as more creditworthy and are more willing to lend to them. Governments often implement prudent fiscal and economic policies to improve their credit ratings. However, SCRs are not without their challenges. There is a lack of transparency regarding the methodologies followed by rating agencies, which can lead to questions about the accuracy and fairness of the ratings. Additionally, SCRs may not adequately capture an economy's fundamentals, such as its ability and willingness to pay. There have also been allegations of bias against emerging economies by rating agencies. In India, credit rating agencies are primarily regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India or SEBI. However, other regulatory agencies such as the Reserve Bank of India, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, and the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority also regulate certain aspects of CRAs under their respective sectoral jurisdictions. The SEBI Credit Rating Agencies Regulations 1999 mandate that agencies disclose their rating criteria, methodology, default recognition policy, and guidelines on dealing with conflicts of interest. Some of the domestic CRAs registered under SEBI include CRISIL and ICRA.
Moving ahead in the news, WHO released Hooking the Next Generation: How the Tobacco Industry Captures Young Customers report. The report was released by World Health Organization and STOP, a global tobacco industry watchdog. The report, unveiled on World No Tobacco Day on 31st May, the theme of WNTD 2024, Protecting Children from Tobacco Industry Interference, underscores the urgency of addressing this pressing issue. The report's key findings reveal the staggering scale of the problem, with an estimated 37 million children aged between 13 to 15 years using tobacco globally. Moreover, an astonishing 85% of 15 to 30-year-olds were exposed to electronic cigarette advertising across multiple media platforms. It's important to note that electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes are battery-operated devices that produce aerosol by heating a solution containing nicotine, the addictive substance found in combustible cigarettes. But the question arises why tobacco industry is targeting youth. This industry's focus on targeting youth is driven by their need to find replacement consumers and generate a lifetime of profits. Exploiting the lack of understanding regarding the repercussions of smoking and the influence of peer pressure, the industry capitalizes on the vulnerability of young people, making them easily susceptible to tobacco addiction. The report highlights the insidious tactics employed by the tobacco industry to lure young customers. These include releasing new products like e-cigarettes, heated tobacco products, and nicotine pouches, as well as engaging in predatory pricing strategies such as lowering the prices of disposable e-cigarettes and offering buy one get one free promotions. The industry also heavily markets its products in digital spaces, including gaming platforms, where young people are most active and easily influenced. The consequences of tobacco consumption are devastating, with more than 8 million deaths each year attributed to the risk of heart disease, lung disorders, cancer, and other severe health issues. As per WHO, the economic burden is equally staggering, with smoking costing the world's economies more than $1 trillion annually in healthcare expenditure and lost productivity. To combat this global epidemic, various initiatives have been undertaken at both national and international levels. In India, the National Tobacco Control Program, the Cigarette and Other Tobacco Products Act 2003, and the Prohibition of Electronic Cigarettes Act 2019 are among the key measures implemented to curb tobacco consumption. On a global scale, the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control 2003, which was ratified by India in 2004, and the WHO's Empower measures provide a comprehensive framework for tackling the tobacco epidemic. The Empower measures encompass a range of strategies, including monitoring tobacco use and prevention policies, protecting people from tobacco smoke, offering help to quit tobacco use, warning about the dangers of tobacco, enforcing bans on tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship, and raising taxes on tobacco products. As we mark World No Tobacco Day 2024, the WHO and STOP's report serves as a clarion call for all stakeholders to unite in protecting the next generation from the predatory practice of the tobacco industry.
In our next news, the UN Global Supply Chain Forum, or UNGSCF, has called for resilience amid the recent world trade disruptions. The inaugural edition of the UN Global Supply Chain Forum, hosted by UN Trade and Development, formerly known as UNCTAD, and the government of Barbados, has called for resilience amid escalating disruptions in global supply chains. The forum addressed the pressing need for supply chain resilience, which is the ability of a supply chain network to withstand disruption and minimize the effects of upheaval on revenues, costs, and customers. Several critical issues affecting supply chains were highlighted during the forum. Climate change, for instance, has had a significant impact, with climate-induced droughts affecting trade flow in the Panama Canal. Geopolitical tensions have also taken a toll, with escalating attacks on ships in the Red Sea by Houthis and disruptions in the Black Sea caused by the ongoing war in Ukraine. Moreover, the interdependencies and vulnerabilities of complex supply chains were brought to the forefront. The COVID-19 pandemic served as a stark reminder of how disruption at one point can ripple through the entire network, causing widespread upheaval. The UNGSCF yielded several key outcomes aimed at addressing these challenges. The forum launched the manifesto for intermodal, low-carbon, efficient and resilient freight transport and logistics, emphasizing the urgent need for transforming freight transport to meet global climate targets and enhance socio-economic resilience. Additionally, the forum presented guidelines for developing an electronic single window for trade, promoting digital solutions for resilience. In a collaborative effort with the World Bank, UNCTAD also launched the Trade and Transport Dataset, which will contribute to a better understanding and optimization of global trade flows. Shifting our focus to initiatives taken to boost supply chain resilience, both global and domestic efforts have been put in place. On the global front, the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative launched by Australia, India, and Japan in 2021 aims to strengthen supply chain cooperation. India is also a signatory to Pillar 2 of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity or IPEF, which relates to supply chain resilience. Domestically, India has been making strides in enhancing its logistic ecosystem through initiatives such as the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan and the National Logistic Policy 2022. The country has also been focusing on boosting manufacturing through the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, the introduction of production-linked incentive schemes in key sectors, and a liberalized foreign direct investment policy. As the world grapples with the challenges posed by supply chain disruptions, forums like the UNGSCF serve as a crucial platform for fostering collaboration, sharing best practices, and developing strategies to build resilient supply chains. The place in news for today is Moldova with its capital Chișinău. It is in news as the United States has pledged $135 million aid to Moldova to counter the Russian influence. If we talk about its political features, it is a landlocked country lying in the northeastern corner of the Balkan region of Europe. It shares its borders with Ukraine to its north, east and south, and Romania to its west. Talking about its geographical features, its highest point is the Mount Balaniste. Its major rivers are Dniester, Prut, etc. Moreover, its climate is usually moderate in winters and warm in summers. If we talk about the natural resources it possesses, then those are lignite, phosphorites, gypsum, limestone, and more.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. National Stock Exchange of India indices launches India's first electric vehicle index, that is Nifty EV and New Age Automotive Index. This index aims to track the performance of companies which form a part of the EV ecosystem or are involved in development of new age automotive vehicles or related technology. National Skill Development Corporation and International Labour Organization announced a strategic partnership to advance skill development and lifelong learning in India. A key aspect of partnership is implementation of Skill India Digital Hub. According to RBI, gross FDI declined marginally to $71 billion in 2023-24 from $71.4 billion in 2022-23. Net FDI flows fell to $10.6 billion during 2023-24 from $28 billion in 2022-23. The Indian Air Force took part in the Red Flag exercise in Alaska, USA. Red Flag exercise is a multinational air combat exercise designed to create a comprehensive learning environment by simulating realistic combat scenarios. Inaugural edition of Kavango Zambezi Trans-Frontier Conservation Area Summit is being held in Zambia. KAZA TFCA, formally established in 2011, it lies in the Kavango Zambezi River basins. Marine protected areas designated to protect diadromous fish species did not align with their core habitats. Diadromous fish species undergo regular migration between saltwater and freshwater environments. An example is bull shark. According to a new study, climate change threatens rhinos with extinction as they are vulnerable to increased heating due to lack of high surface area to dissipate heat and lack of ability to sweat as they lack sweat glands. Traditional craft Bella block printing is in danger of dying out with no young takers for it. Bella block printing is a traditional textile art form that showcases bold and precise designs on textured fabrics. Before we wrap up today's bulletin, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this edition of News Today. For the solution to today's quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description below.